Yo.
Well, welcome back to Be Rad the Pod. For those of you just listening, which is 99% of you, we just took a ketone shot.
Yeah.
And whew, those things, man, they work. I wonder if these expire because these ones are over a year old.
Really?
Yeah, these Delta G ketones over a year old. But
is there an expiration date on it?
Best by September 5th, 2025. Cool.
Just in time.
Just in time.
Now we're feeling juiced though.
I was actually thinking about these because I'm watching Band of Brothers right now while I'm biking. And, you know, these specifically by this company was hired by the U.S. military. By the U.S. military.
Yeah.
Delta G was. And to be used in like really intense situations where they didn't have a lot of food and to like have focus. And I was just, you know, Band of Brothers is about World War II. And I'm like, what crazy technologies came out of that for U.S. soldiers? Also,
I mean, so much technology's come out of war. But you're about to chat more about.
I was just going to say,
Band of
I'm
Brothers.
addicted to this show. There's also a book. I tend not to watch or listen to stuff like this because I am sensitive and I get nightmares super easily. But ever since like I remember being in 8th grade and reading All Quiet on the Western Front, which is actually it's from the German perspective. I laugh because my sister later read that book for fun, my 8th grade version, and I like highlighted some random stuff. And like there was one part where he was, you know, pooping in an outhouse and I circled it and went, ha ha.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Your high school experience was different. Like, I mean, different from everyone else's experience in our same high school because you're such a free thinker. That for those of you who don't like have as much background on Kat, you know, we went to the same high school and so she was so independent. Like she would skip class and then go running in the hills by herself for hours. And the teachers kind of just all liked her so much. They kind of turned a blind eye and they were just like, oh yeah, it's okay, Kat. Like just turn in the homework a little late or come to my office later. And she would chat them up, riz them up, as the kids say these days.
I've
and
never heard that.
riz them up.
Raise them up, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm hip. That's why.
Yeah, you watch the reels.
Check it out. I'm head to toe Satisfy.
Yeah.
And like, it looks like my wife is sponsored by Satisfy or something, and I somehow fit into her awesome clothes. So I'm stealing them.
Yeah, as I know, it's so funny that we're the same size.
I mean, how's that scorpion? That thing is rad.
I know, this is probably my favorite Satisfy shirt.
It even has the moth tech.
I wear this every time I have a down day. Like, I don't run in this because I like it so much, and I wear it like anytime today I only had an hour. And so then I put it on so I get to wear it all day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wear it for special occasions like the pod or to the club.
Yeah. To all the clubs I go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the teachers, I think they just felt bad for me. So because I'd like eat lunch with them.
Why'd they feel bad for you?
I don't know, because I was kind of different. I was the kind of person that was low-key friends with everybody, but didn't have a group. And so I often ended up eating lunch.
Yeah.
But like anytime I tried to infiltrate a group, it just like, I was just,
Infiltrate them, learn all their secrets.
Yeah, it was just kind of funny. And I also was like, I was like friends with all the girls, and then when I sat at the girl table, I was just overwhelmed because it was all stuff that I didn't relate to quite as well. And then when I sat with the boys table, they were just like dumb boys, and I was like friends with everybody individually, but
yeah,
not all together.
Yeah, it's really tough when they're like high school cliques are formed over time, and then all of a sudden everyone in a little clique is so tight, like trying to infiltrate that group. I remember like, yeah, it was high school was kind of uncomfortable in that way, but yeah, you were friendly with everybody. But I would say that you definitely also got bullied like quite a lot, but you didn't always realize you got bullied.
I know.
Which is like pretty cool. You're just like,
well, here's
yeah,
the thing.
like,
I think my nervous system kind of realized it.
Oh.
And then I just gaslit myself because there was nothing I could do about it. So it's just like, you're not getting bullied. Like, this is bloody tampons in your locker? Ha 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 ha. Funny joke.
Yeah, ha ha. That's hilarious.
Oh my God, there's a bunch of pee on my backpack. It must be cat pee. Oh, somebody said they peed on it? Ah.
That's so messed up.
Isn't
That story
crazy?
is so cringy. And then you're the one that got sent to therapy and like had to leave school for a little bit because they were like, oh, this poor girl is probably so bothered.
I didn't have to leave school, but they just like, I think the girls that did it got suspended, but then I think they were so worried about me that they like this school, like, and maybe I was just like I was actually talking to my sports psychologist about this. Like when I went to this new school in 8th grade and didn't know anybody, and I was never shy, but always kind of weird, but with just all the new stimulus, all of a sudden I was mute in 8th grade. And it's because I later learned that that's, I'd already been diagnosed with ADHD, but it was a manifestation of the ADHD when your brain is just like so overwhelmed and so crazy that like you can't communicate. And so I literally, people would talk to me. I like, my friends now from high school are like, yeah, you didn't say a word that entire year. And I just like was super mute. And I forget my point in that, but I think it laid a groundwork for a lot of bullying then, because I was just like nice to people individually. I could talk. But then, the school, that's probably it. The school was like super worried about me because I just was like,
you were so quiet.
I was quiet. And then like stuff like that would happen like in 8th grade in my freshman year, especially in sophomore year.
Yeah. Looking back, I don't know. My memory from that time is kind of fuzzy, but I definitely felt like I was a total weirdo. And, like, I'm sure a lot of my friends would agree, like, oh, yeah, he's such a weirdo.
Yeah, but from my perspective, I was like, you're the coolest dude ever.
That's cool. I mean, I thought you were really cool, too. It's funny that you say that you just you're really good at gaslighting yourself. Their thought raced through my mind that's kind of what ultra running is. You're just gaslighting yourself the whole time, like, this is fun.
I know.
50 more miles. This is great.
That's so true.
I'm about to PR. I'm also going to pee blood, but...
Yeah. You really got to gaslight yourself to be good at ultra running. I read this quote from... I forget her last name. Her Instagram is Helen Red Cloud, I think, and she got 3rd at CCC recently, and I'm just, I'm running CCC this year, so I'm just stalking everybody who's ever done well there.
Nice.
Because I'm kind of in the thick of training, and her description of CCC that year was, it doesn't matter how you feel. Mm-hmm. You still just got to run it. And that is, I want to bring that energy into the rest of the 2025 racing season. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how you feel.
Yeah.
You just got to keep going.
Well, yeah, for the race itself.
Yeah, for the race itself. And training, that can get a little, as you know, a little iffy.
It's such a fine line because, like, during a race, you have to be extremely in tune with how you feel so that you can ward off any sort of dehydration or, like, malnutrition or any of that stuff. Like, you have to be able to tough it out when it's tough, but also be really sensitive with your body and understand exactly like the signs that you're receiving.
Yeah.
So you can like get ahead of any sort of issues that might come up.
Yeah, but you can't think about it too hard. What I'm kind of learning is that I am just going to start treating my body like a machine with nutrition and I've been doing that in training, like 90 grams of carbs an hour.
Yeah.
And I did that before Madeira, but I was like in between using Precision, then I did Morton for a little while, and then like 2 weeks before the race, I switched to Never Second gels.
Yeah.
And I've exclusively been using Never Second lately. Even though like we're completely out of gels right now. And so I've just been like, you know, making my own drink mix with it. Just making it like 90 grams.
Going in with the strategy, I mean, it's like, that's like investing. I don't know if anyone's ever played in the stock market, but like, oh, it's so easy to lose your head if your stock starts tanking, or if it's rising super fast and you're like, oh man, I'm like winning, and you just try to hang on a little more until like all of a sudden it peaks and then it turns around and it's like crashing. What? And you're like, what?
Wait,
why didn't I sell?
Strategy you told me to do? You got to hodl, right?
Yeah. That was the term during COVID. The crazy market going on with GameStop and everything. Everyone was like, you got to hodl and hold on for dear life. But that brings me. It's totally a different side note, but it's a similar strategy where it's like you have to go in with a strategy of an entrance and an exit plan, and like you can't let your emotions dictate, because you'll probably make a mistake, like an emotional mistake. Like when you were pounding salt pills because you thought it might help, but it was just not helpful, because it's like,
no, I went way off script. Yeah, I went way off script.
Yeah, so
and it got me.
You're right. You just got to like go in. You have to figure out all those kinks ahead of time, and then make your plan and stick to your plan.
Yeah, and then if I do that, then it doesn't really matter how I feel, you know, because like if I know that I'm getting exactly what I need, it's so scientific now. I know exactly what my sweat rate is. I know exactly how much I'm sweating out. I can just, put it in, and, sometimes it's not going to feel good. Sometimes like that 90 grams of carbs an hour sits better than other times, and you just got to like stick to the plan no matter how it feels. Yeah,
that's so true. Yeah, don't pay attention to my suggestion of like being fine-tuned to your
no, I think it is. You do have to be fine-tuned too, but I think for me, I have to be a little bit less fine-tuned. Okay. I think for me, I'm so sensitive, and I think especially because of my injury history, I've like have been way overthinking everything, and and because of that time that I got hyponatremia, that was so scary that I'm making definitely emotional decisions that like feel like I'm listening to my body, but it's just like when you're racing really hard, it's hard to know.
What a wild ride that was.
All
right, well, you made this fun checklist or list of awesome ideas for things to talk about. And I see here, number 1, general life updates. Dolphins, ? 4 dogs, ? Let's dive into this. Dolphins, ?
First of all, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Mm-hmm.
General life update?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well... Oh, wow. So much. I came back from Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Have we spoken since then on the pod?
No.
Okay, yeah. So I was there just hauling butt, working my tail off over there for, I was at 9 or 10 straight days. And just trying to do a Herculean effort of work over there so we could try to get it all done. And it came a long way. I'm really happy with it. And I think we're ready to launch this vacation rental. It's like a super nice spot to have a family reunion. So, and it's basically on this huge acreage where people you can have your whole family there and not run out of space. So it's...
And there's like a pavilion. There's sometimes a lake.
Yeah. when the water level comes back up. It's down right now, but it'll come back up, and then there'll be a lake, and it's beautiful. It's really cool. But, little by little, I was, doing a whole bunch of different jobs, insulating, chipping away some of this cement curb that needed to be it needed to have a good watershed to it. Doing a lot of weed whacking with this blade at the end of my weed whacker.
You got a bunch of bites.
Yeah, these Texas bugs are so gnarly. Like they're born and bred to kill. It's like some of them are really strong. So we're getting a pest guy out there to deal with that too. But man,
you're covered in bites.
I heard from somebody that you can put clear nail polish on all the bites, and then it will like smother it, and there's no oxygen that will get in it.
Well, because apparently these bugs like burrow under your skin and lay eggs, right?
That's one theory. I think that was debunked, but I'm not really sure. I'm just a greenhorn out there, you know, like calling all my landscaper friends like, what is this? And so then they told me to do that, and I basically like shaved these random patches on my legs so that the clear nail polish would suffocate the. Anyways, it was the itchiest, worst experience with bugs that I've ever had. I had probably like 60 or 70 of these bites all over my legs. More itchy than I've ever been in my whole life.
Yeah. It was gross. It's crazy seeing all the bug bites on the back of your legs. I'm like, I want to spend less time in Texas.
Well, I mean, peak summertime is when all the bugs come out, and those bugs don't play around. Like, I think they were bred to survive some pretty harsh competition and some harsh climates. So
yeah,
they are hardcore bugs. But
dude, Texas is hardcore. Shirley, we were there last April. I forget if we've ever talked about this in May, and Shirley got bit by a snake, and we had to take her to go get anti-venom. Yeah,
that was especially traumatizing. I mean, she got bit by a copperhead snake, which is a pit viper. It's in the rattler family, and basically almost as venomous. I was worried. Yeah, I was really worried for her, and but we got her anti-venom within the hour, and that was huge. I mean, she's a tiny dog. She definitely would have died.
She's 24 pounds when she's a little chunky.
23 when she's in fighting
yeah,
weight.
Exactly.
22 when she's really killing.
Yeah.
But man, she walked up to me in the heat, looking like she wanted to go inside because it was so hot, and then she like looked up at me, kind of like she like waddled over to me, kind of seeming.
She's like, Daddy.
A little messed up, and then she looks up at me, and I see these bloody marks in her nose, like on her snout, where obviously a snake had bit her in the face. And I saw that, and I was like, oh no, that's really bad. And her face was already swelling up. And so I had to tell my crew, I was like, all right, I gotta go. This is an emergency. And then I took her to the vet clinic, and they're really good over there. Austin, I mean, Texas in general, they have like some pretty good businesses over there that function really quickly and effectively. And
yeah,
they got me in, fixed her up, took her out the next day, and she was super swollen, but all this swelling kind of like like sunk down into her neck, so she had this big like goiter neck. It was kind of funny. It was
so funny. Like what you sent me this video, and her goiter was blowing in the wind. It was like, she was all drugged up, and like her neck was just swaying like a beard.
Yeah, that was one of Shirley's close calls.
She had 2 close calls back to back, and it was too much for my little heart.
Yeah, she had like that stroke like a month beforehand or something.
Yeah, I had a stroke and was like temporarily paralyzed in her hind legs.
She just had to work out the clot.
Yeah, it was really, really bad.
It was a savage little dog. She's so sturdy.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, leading the pack today. We were running with 4 dogs.
4 dogs. Yeah, so we were watching the neighbors' dogs, and they have two dogs that are pretty wild when they don't get enough exercise. So it was my mission to like really tire these dogs out, and happy I did, because they run really well. Once they're on trail, they're really on it. They're like, all right, we understand the objective.
Yeah.
Let's run as a pack. And they did great. But Shirley led the whole way. I'm sure that made her feel like alpha dog.
Yeah, she is alpha dog.
Yeah.
She totally is.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, but for me, I've just been, Carson was gone. I just kind of put my head down, was super antisocial, worked a lot, trained a lot, had another session of 400s. I got to see dolphins on 2 different occasions, not just see them, but like they were within a couple feet of me. Wow. Which was one of that, like they really love people. They came up, one of them like was basically rubbing against my leg like a cat while I was swimming. I was like, oh my God. It's crazy.
And that's wild. So Are they spinner dolphins?
I think so. That's the really small ones, and they're really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they jump out of the water and like.
Oh yeah, they're all. But like
spins.
I've seen, you know, like when I was a kid and went to SeaWorld, or not SeaWorld, whatever it's called here. What is it called?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's not spinner dolphins, but they jump. But
I mean,
these
they're
ones,
trained to jump.
Yeah.
And, like they jump straight in the air. Spinner dolphins like jump in the air and they're spinning like 20 times before they land.
Yeah, I didn't see them spin 20 times. I saw they'd do like little spins, but
little spin, maybe 20 is an exaggeration.
they'd do like one spin.
They're such interesting creatures. What does it feel like to be swimming with them in the water?
Well, the first time it happened, so this is like I grew up here. I was born and raised here. Never had this happen, and in the summertime here in Waimea, like first of all, there's not a lot of, or in Waimea Bay, there's not a lot of traffic for like boat traffic, I think, which is the difference, and it's super flat. So I think that's why they came. The first time it was a pod of 50 dolphins, and they were coming. I didn't even swim that far out. The second time I had to swim, you know, maybe a quarter mile offshore to have that experience with them. But the first time I swam maybe 15 feet offshore, and 3 of them like came super close to me. Then the second time it was a pod of maybe 15 to 20, and
wow.
They, at first I thought it was like 5, but then you like see them popping up all over, and and like all the tourists are freaking out. It's like it's really special. But it's the first time I was intimidated because I was like, wow, these are powerful little animals, and they're small. They're like basically from like my knee to my head.
That's how long they are?
Yeah.
Wow, those are tiny.
Yeah, they're really small.
Whoa.
Yeah, maybe a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But they're way smaller than I thought.
Yeah.
They're like kind of Momo sized.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Momo size.
But like a little bit rounder.
And they're really smart, right?
Yeah,
Did you have any sort of like, do you feel like you could like connect with them on some sort of mental level when you saw them?
I don't think so. I mean, there was like, it's so much action and there's so many tourists around, like, and every time a dolphin comes close to like a person, the tourists are like, you know, come like swimming over there, and like they all have paddle boards and stuff. And so I didn't get like just a moment, you know, and it was like so hectic. Plus I came back from a run and I saw them out there, and I just like swam really fast out there. So I didn't have goggles or anything, so I couldn't see.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're poking their heads up so I can look at them. But it did feel just so, you know, we're so lucky to live here. It's so crazy. And like, it just, anytime I have an experience like that, sometimes I get like restless, and, you know, even when I travel so much, but when I'm here for a couple weeks, I'm just like, you know, it's when I feel the least restless, and then I have experiences like that, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, I'm
it's so
blessed.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Dolphins, 4 dogs, general life update.
Training.
Yeah. Training. Yeah, you've been training really hard and really well, and your body's been feeling good too, right?
Yeah, I mean, my body was feeling really, really bad from Madeira up until like basically last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, there was ups and downs. I'd have like a good day and then like 4 bad days, and then I met with this guy Paul last week or 2 weeks ago before you left, and we talked about it a little bit last time, and just wanted to give it another update. I'm a different athlete. My quads or my calves, which are chronically sore, you feel them. I'm like, look, it feels like a boob now.
Yeah, they're
so loose,
relaxed.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I mean, yeah, we talked about it last week, how Paul taught you how to look like to fully engage like all your bigger muscles better while you're running. And when you're really hauling ass, you look kind of scary, like you could bum rush somebody and take them out.
I know, you said that last week. I think that was the title of the episode, Bum Rush.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, it was so sick. I think that you know, it's obviously a huge deal, because think about how much you've accomplished with your running career without even having like 100% sound form. And now you're going to activate all of those bigger muscles that are even more powerful, and you're going to be able to do so much more. So I think the future is really bright for you.
I hope so. I mean, I always feel like my body is the limiter. It's not my cardiovascular system. And I've like told so many practitioners that like, hey, something is wrong. I'm not able to utilize my big muscles. I don't know why. And also I just like going uphill, my calves will burn. Like it's not normal. I know people are like, oh yeah, my calves get tight too. But like, it was the only thing that was tight. It was just such a limiting factor. And then also just like I'd be running up a hill and I wouldn't be breathing hard, but I literally couldn't run any faster. And it was just all form, And so, or like a big part of it, I think I'm getting stronger too. So, I'm really excited to keep doing it. And obviously fitness is the biggest part of it. But I think this is super helpful. And I don't know, I'm excited to keep working with him. He said he had a couple more things he wanted to work with me on.
Nice.
But I think that was the big one. Like he's made it, that was my third session with him. And the other two, he made like little changes to my arms, which really helped. And then the second one, he taught me to just like hunch my shoulders basically a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was helpful. But for this one has been the one that's felt like a complete game changer.
You like unlocked.
Yeah.
Unlocked.
It was an unlock.
The new system. That's cool. New level. Yeah. Leveling up.
Yeah. So what's your workout of the week this week?
Probably just last few days running with dogs, all 4 dogs. Sorry.
I feel like you're reading it too hard.
I know. Yeah, it's just you have such good handwriting.
That's so funny. Is that wrong? Is it because you can't read it?
No, I'm just fidgety.
Okay.
But I'd say running with all 4 dogs and like, it really feels kind of like you're mushing out there. Like they pull me up hills.
Yeah.
And so I went pretty fast up some hills. I was like, no way, I set a PR up that one hill. Like that's unreal because I didn't mean to and wasn't pushing that hard, but it's because I had 4 dogs like pulling me up this hill. So
yeah,
it's kind of fun. I was imagining maybe strapping into like one of those all-terrain skateboards and having all 4 dogs pull me. Like I'd be like mushing these 4 dogs on all-terrain up in the hills up here above Pupukea, and maybe it'd work really well, or it'd be a colossal disaster.
I know. I feel like it would be a colossal disaster because you were saying that there's like a handbrake. And what happens when you're trying to slow them down? You handbrake, but the dogs don't. You'd have to like strap in.
Yeah, well, there are like these foot straps basically that you like lock into the board.
But still, the dogs are so strong. You brake and you're strapped into this board. You're just gonna tumble over and be dragged.
Yeah. Well, I would have to like lean. I would lean back, and I wouldn't just be like, brake. Whoa, topple.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, it would be difficult. I don't know if it would be smart, but
yeah,
the thought is fun.
Yeah. Well, mine is I kind of have had an unlock in the last couple weeks, and I feel like the form change has helped make this feel good because I've tried to do it in the past and I've still just felt like a little bit off at those faster paces. Like anything below 6-minute miles, I felt like not great. And then the form thing has really clicked because now it feels much easier. It feels harder in some ways because I am using all those muscles, so they get sore, but I don't feel like I'm going to injure myself running at those faster paces. So what I've been doing on my endurance runs, so like my zone 2 days where I'm just running pretty easy, but not recovery, I've been going to the top of Pupukea Road from the bottom. I'll like go to the bottom. Basically it's 5 miles uphill, 5 miles downhill. And there's a 2-mile stretch of downhill that's all on road, and it's basically the same grade the whole time. It's like 5% grade downhill. And I do some 1-minute downhill intervals on that, just like 4 or 5 of them at like cool. 5:15s. And that has just made my strides so much more efficient. And I've had trouble getting that turnover here just because of my form and because it's so hot. And I've immediately noticed a difference in my efficiency on my other workouts.
Sick.
Yeah. I haven't noticed it so much on my faster paces yet, but like on my like warm-ups and cool downs, I'm like, oh, like I'm running like 15 seconds per mile faster.
Yeah.
Just like at the same heart rate.
Wow.
And that is like all efficiency. And I'm telling you, that's why I have all of my athletes do so many strides.
Yeah.
And I do incorporate downhill strides sometimes for specific athletes. However, it's so high impact that I have to be kind of careful.
Yeah.
I more so do like longer 10-minute downhill intervals at a much lower intensity, but I think I'm going to start incorporating these short ones more often, especially for me.
Nice.
But yeah, and it's just something, it's not something like my coach and I, we've talked about doing that, but it's just something that I was like, I, need to do it. So I started doing it, and then we've kind of talked about it. And so
Cool.
we're incorporating it more officially. But, I will say for anyone wanting to try that, like, hell yeah, do it, go for it. It's high impact though. So just like if you have any niggles going on, don't do it. And then make sure to recover well afterward. And if you're like newer to running, like the way that I did it is I did that before a hard workout the next day to kind of prime my legs. But if you've only been running for less than 5 years, I would have an easier day in between that and a hard workout.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do those in high school a little bit.
You used to do downhill interval?
I think we both did. I thought
I didn't.
Maybe it was my cross country, the boys cross country team, and we'd go down like a pretty short hill. It wasn't like a super long interval, but it was. Yeah, I remember like we'd be ripping down this hill. It'd be pretty fun, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I was pretty early in my running career at that point, so I'm not sure I noticed a huge difference.
Yeah. Plus you had a hole in your heart.
Yeah, the hole in my heart really big. Big deal.
You weren't really going to adapt to anything back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going back to Western for the first time since 2017.
Gosh. You're going there. Why are you going there? Tell them.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it a little bit last week as I got invited to commentate at the Western States 100 this year. I'll be doing some pre-race interviews, some post-race interviews, and it sounds like I'll be stationed at Rucky Chucky.
The whole time? The whole race?
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'll be in the morning. So Rucky Chucky is right after the river crossing, so around mile 80.
Oh, wow. That's pretty far in.
Yeah, that's pretty far. For the leaders, it'll be like 10 hours in for the male leaders.
Wow. That's so fast to run 80 miles.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So is
10 and a half, maybe 11 actually.
Is Western States a net downhill course?
Yeah, net downhill. Still has 18,000 feet of gain though. So like it's net downhill, but it still has quite a bit of climbing.
How much
loss?
How much loss is there?
24,000.
Oh wow. So 6 grand downhill.
Extra.
Yeah.
No. Yeah,
a total of 6,000 elevation loss.
No. Oh yeah. No. More. That's net.
From start to finish. Like
that's net loss, but it still has 24,000 feet of loss.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So, wow. So that's a super fast race. And have you run anywhere on that course since 2017?
I mean, we did Broken Arrow.
Oh yeah, right. And that's on the course.
Yeah,
too.
that's just a little. I don't even know if it actually crosses over the course at all. I think like when you do the VK, it goes down. So like the first climb is called the escarpment, and it's 4 miles with like 4 or 5 miles with like 4,000 feet of vert or something. You get like most of the vert, or like not most, but a good percentage of the day's vert over within the first 6 miles.
And Broken Arrow is happening this weekend.
Yeah, as we speak.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. But
what are you most excited for to return back and, be back in the Western States universe? Because that's it's a big deal.
I know. It feels kind of crazy. That Western States feels like a lifetime ago. And I feel like I've always been in some ways trying to outrun Western states and sometimes prove that, you know, like, hey, that wasn't a fluke. I feel like that's kind of defined my career, and going back as like, you know, now I'm at a point where it's kind of been a blank slate, and like I'm owning being a completely different athlete, and that's a good thing. I'm in a much happier place. So it's kind of crazy. I'm going back as just like a complete different person in a different place in my life, and with a different, you know, with a level head. You know, when I was at Western States last time, I was sure that I was going to win, but so sure that I was going to win that if I didn't, I would have been devastated, you know? And like, I don't feel that crushing sense of despair when I don't do well at races anymore. And I think that is the difference between then and now. So going back is just like, you know, I feel less, I feel like so much healthier.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, like, no, I don't think any one person can win every single race that they run.
Yeah, except for like Courtney
and
Katie.
That's, yeah. I mean, well, they don't win every single race either. Like, they've had their fair share of losses, and so
not really.
Really?
Yeah, Courtney either DNFs or she wins.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you know, it's one of those things, like, you have a huge breadth of experience from having wins and losses, and I think that mentality is valuable, because, you know, it's, at the end of the day, it is like a numbers game. I mean, to me, DNFing is as good as not winning. I mean, it's more worse because you didn't even finish the race. I mean, I know that people do that for strategic reasons, because they're like, oh, it will lower my ITRA score or whatever. But I honestly think it's kind of like that
was such a good ultra running term. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I know,
I'm realizing how much
slowly absorbing information. But, you know, it is kind of an easy way out. Like, it's like, oh, I'm not going to win. Okay, I'm going to drop this race and like not finish it. And, you know, I don't like that. If you're in the ring and you're fighting somebody, you fight until you lose, or you get KO'd, or you win. And like, so, you know, it's one of those things that's like, all right, you're just going to give up. But at the same time, I completely understand why. And these people are going through these traumatizing, sometimes, experiences running 100 miles. Like, why would you keep running if it's not your day? So like, I'm a simple pedestrian over here, like talking a big talk, but I don't, it's one of those interesting things. I do think that there is some value in knowing how to take a loss, though, because it is like, it will harden your mentality and make you realize that it's a number. Like, it's just another notch in the belt. And you're going to get there if you keep chipping away at it and you keep unlocking new levels, and like you just have been this last couple weeks. And so, you know, I think that's pretty huge. I don't think that it was a fluke at all. And, you know, coming back to that, what is it that infiltrated your mind and made you think that about your experience at Western States, that it might potentially be a fluke, or did somebody say that?
Yeah, I mean, there was this one ultra runner that I kind of put on a pedestal, and I really looked up to her, and she, I mean, you know, it's just stupid gossip, and it like got back to me, and that just like really got under my skin, especially since that year there was a ton of snow. So the times were much slower than a normal winning time. Like, I won in 19 hours. And typically the times back then were like in the 18s or high 17s. And then now the winning times are like in the 15s, 16s. But like there was, you know, and it, blah, 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 like excuses. There was like, you know, it was one of the hardest condition years in the race history. They call it the year of fire and ice, because it, you know, like the first 30 miles, you were like post-holing in knee-deep snow. Not quite 30 miles, but specifically this 10-mile section from the top of the escarpment to Red Star, mile 15. It took everybody 3 hours, which typically that takes like an hour 40.
Wow.
Or all the women. And so I think just like because of that, and I haven't been back since. So I've always wanted to go back, but I think it was important for me to, like, I wasn't emotionally ready to go back in 2018. I felt like so frantic.
Yeah.
And
what made you feel so frantic?
well, because I felt like if I didn't win, then I lost completely, you know.
Yeah.
Then if I didn't get first place, it was a fluke, you know.
Once you got to the top of the podium, you had everything to lose.
Totally.
But before that, you didn't really.
Yeah, being the underdog was, you know, it's a superpower.
Yeah.
And I got to go in there and I got to be like, I am going to win. And, you know, nobody else cared, you know,
Yeah.
whether I did or not. And then it's a little bit different to say that when you've already won something.
Yeah. Why is it different?
Because you got eyes on you.
Everyone's watching.
Everyone's watching, yeah.
Like, oh, this person's saying, everyone's listening to you.
Everyone's watching. Everyone's got an opinion about it, which is part of sport. And, you know, it's a part of sport that I've learned to, like, accept and dissociate from. But back then I was like just so wrapped up in it. And also
Right.
I just wanted it so bad. There's such thing as like wanting it too bad, I think. I think that's such
because if it doesn't happen, it'll destroy you.
Yeah.
But do you think wanting it that bad and being like all or nothing, like putting all your chips on the table, do you think that led you to actually achieving the result that you were after?
I think so. But I think I can do it in a healthier way too.
Yeah.
I really hope so. And if not, then that's fine because I'm super happy otherwise. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to fight like hell.
Yeah.
I'm training just as hard
Yeah.
now.
You're still a psychopath.
Yeah. You know, and it took me a couple years actually to start training this hard again. You
Yeah.
know, I think after Western States, I like started training even like harder and stupider.
Oh yeah, because you're grasping for straws when you felt your body kind of deteriorating.
Totally.
And then it led you into this injury cycle.
Yeah.
That you were like, it was a huge pit of despair until like
Just like a giant 3-year pit of absolute despair.
Man. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's where if you don't approach this problem like a tactician and see the threat of, you know, overtraining, overuse, the potential for injury, and you just push it like you will die if you don't, then that's a quick path to completely burning out or breaking your body.
100%.
And so that's where you were until you know, kind of got on the right side of things and now are taking a much more methodical and a little bit slower approach. But in the long run, it's, you know, that was just like 2 years, like dropping the bucket for your career. And now you're on your way back up with a much more sturdy mentality and approach.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny because like the pendulum almost had to swing in the other direction first.
Yeah.
You know, so like the pendulum was like super duper extreme, like extreme as it gets. Didn't have a life outside of running.
Yeah.
You know, and not that I have much of one now, but you know, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit chiller. I'm much happier. And also I'm just like comfortable with not having a life because I'm an introvert. But then the pendulum had to swing the other way where I was like missing a lot of training sessions and like, you know, just coasting off talent a little bit more and not putting in the work, eating like absolute shit, drinking too much, you know.
What was the nastiest, like most junk food that you would eat a lot during that phase?
Oh man.
You ate a lot of donuts, like tons of donuts.
Yeah, I don't think that's even the bad thing. I mean, I like still, you give me some donuts. We just don't live next to like anywhere where I can get donuts. I don't think that was the worst thing. I think the worst thing was just having like, you know, I was eating, and this is just like a true sign of depression, but I was eating like a ton of cold canned soup from the can. And like,
when was that about?
this was like right before we got back together.
Oh yeah.
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 Just not.
I was eating a lot of cold soup from the can at that point too. It's kind of funny. I remember, I remember eating like some of that lentil soup and just like basically just at one point it just overwhelmed me, and I think it gave me some sort of like some sort of sickness, and ever since then I'm like, no thanks to lentil soup.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really interesting insight on your mentality there, because as an onlooker, as like 99.9% of people, they'll see like the winners, the podiumers, and they're like, oh wow, they won first place, they won second, third place, like they're amazing, like I wonder what it feels like to be that. But like, even when you're sitting at first place, we've talked about this before, you're not really like just living in that moment of feeling like you won 100%. Like sometimes it's unlocking new doors of feeling like, oh gosh, now I have to defend this title.
Yeah.
And it's not as much of a calm, reassuring sense of I'm a badass. It's
totally
more of like a urgent sort of stressful thing.
I know. The next thought is like, now I have to do it again to prove that I'm worthy. Like, I'm not sure if that ever stops,
Yeah.
But, I think it does. Like, I wonder if I'll ever, and I think most athletes don't, because we're, high achieving people. That's what makes us high achieving, is that we, there's never a cap, it's never enough. But like, and that's my point. I think like, I don't know if there's an athlete that looks back on their career and is like, I did everything that I came to do. And maybe there is.
Yeah.
I swear to God, if Courtney doesn't feel that way when she retires, I'm going to go yell at her. But,
yeah.
Life is short. And even if you only have good days or have 99% good days, like somebody like Courtney, it's still, there's so much to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to do some more stuff in this sport. And I think like going back to Western States, I don't know if I could have handled that, like just being back there and with all the hype and with being a former champion and like the weight of that. Mm-hmm. I don't think I could have handled it at any other point in my career except for now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they talk about that in pretty much any trade or any sport. It's like, if you can fall in love with the process and not the result, that is a path to more secure happiness. Because if your only source of happiness is the result, then you'll eventually be unhappy. And everyone has a peak and then, a valley after that.
And nobody knows where you're peaking. That's the thing is you don't know the peak until you've already fallen.
Yeah.
And
you don't know if there's another peak after that might be even greater.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like, if you fall in love with the process, then those peaks and valleys don't mean as much, and you can just like ride the wave and figure out how to navigate it. And navigating it is truly the beauty of the human experience, I think, of searching for that growth and fulfillment from just living this life and improving day after day. Yeah. I think any person who's constantly seeking to improve and grow and become stronger mentally and physically is like, that is, in my experience, that's like the most sure way that you can get fulfillment and feel good about yourself, feel happy about yourself.
100%. And like I kind of had to come to that road a couple times in the last few years. And most recently I, had to ask myself, okay, like if everything was taken away, and I didn't have the support to like go race all over the world and didn't get paid to do this, would I still be doing this at a high level? Would I stop working with my coaches? Yeah. Would I you know, and the answer, I was like, no, I think I'd still want to do that. I would still want to like wake up every day and, you know, and there's a lot of days where I'm like, you know, I don't want to do this. Actually, there's a lot of them, but like I, you know, I had to really consciously make that decision because I love the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after, what's so interesting is after Western States, when I was just like kind of outrunning that asterisk, I'd like dread runs. I'd like finish a run and I'd be like, oh, dang it, only 24 hours, so I'll have to do the next one.
Dang.
I know.
Yeah. That's really tough. I mean, finding your why is the most important thing, I think, because if you don't really know why you're doing something and you can't rely on that reasoning, then you'll surely burn out. I mean, everything from sports to like life in general. Like I remember after getting severely concussed in Jackson Hole when I was snowboarding, I like was recovering from that head injury, and my memory was like a tenth of what it was before, and I was really having a super hard time. Flew back to my family's house on the Big Island and was recovering with them, and they're seriously helping me in almost every single way. But like I like came face to face with my like mortality and my existence at that point. I was like, what's the point of this? Like, why am I doing this? And like, what's the value of me even being alive? Because it's really sad, and it's easy when your brain is so damaged like that to feel like it's not even worth it. But then you remind yourself that, you know, you've gone through difficult things before, and every single time you approach the most difficult thing in your life, it's the most difficult thing you've ever approached in your life. And what the real fulfillment lies on the other side of that, and like being able to recover from that, or even learn from it and grow from it. And that's where like, and also, you know, it really is huge to have people in your life that care for you and love you, and you know, that all those things are the reason why I was like, you know what, like that is my why. Like it's all just this whole process. I'm just lucky to still be here and lucky to have people that I love, and like I need to live my best life that I possibly can for them and for the process, because I'm thankful for it. You know, I'm thankful that I even got this opportunity. So, yeah, it's like finding your why behind why you do something is super important. Just like running is so hard. That's why I made the joke, like, you got to constantly be gaslighting yourself.
It's true. That's not even fun. A joke. That's accurate.
So maybe like this idea of like, oh yeah, it's finding the beauty in the human experience of like conquering hard things is just really complex gaslighting. But no, I think it's legit. I think this whole existence and every part about our lives, even the really, really hard and dark and scary and difficult parts, are part of the universe, this dance of existence that we all get to enjoy. And it's not going to be around forever. It's like the one sure thing is it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so scary, but like it definitely puts life into perspective.
Yeah. And you know, when we look at it, it's like you and I'm really proud of the life that we live and all the crazy stuff we do, and we exert maximum effort. It's like really hard. We do. Some people are like, dude, you guys are freaking nuts. You're doing so much. And I'm like, I know. I don't even know. Like you guys, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. I was working so hard. I flew back from Austin, Texas after 3 hours of sleep because I was trying to like bust out every single thing on my to-do list. Get on the plane at like 8 a.m. after going to sleep, and I went to sleep at 1, woke up at 4, got on the plane and had to like, you know, had this big migraine in LAX, got home, woke up we went to bed that night, and I woke up like middle of the night to go pee. And this is a secret, don't tell anybody. I got up and started peeing on the floor because I was so fucking exhausted. And I woke up, like, luckily after 1 second and was like, oh no. and then I went to the bathroom and, you know, cleaned it up. And it was like, I was like, oh man. And, you know, it's more hilarious.
Stone cold sober either.
Yeah,
like,
was
no,
totally,
that's the thing.
that was straight up exhaustion.
Yeah, that was no alcohol involved, no weed involved, nothing.
Yeah. Oh man, it was so funny. And like, that's the thing. Like,
that's so funny.
We do, like, we really do send it, and it's you know, it's part of living life to the fullest. I think it's like, all right.
And you know what? We gotta gaslight ourselves to like live life this full too.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
because it is crazy.
It's definitely not always comfortable.
And I was stressing about leaving today, and you're like, just be present. Don't think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, be like Momo. She's always happy and always seems a little dumber than everyone else. And there's something valuable to that, you know, just living in the moment.
Yeah, not thinking too hard.
And speaking of which, oh, wait, what?
I was just going to say, that was really beautiful. You, like, went on a really good tangent that, you know, it took me on that roller coaster of when you got that bad concussion and we weren't together, but I somehow heard about it. I don't even know how I heard about it. And,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I had so many friends that reached out and they're like, bro, like, are you okay? And shout out to, like, all my friends during that time, all the friends up in Jackson and friends that visited me in the ER, like, yeah. But I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, don't be. It was an intense time. I could feel the intensity. I was, you know, when you were recovering at home, I was thousands of miles away and I could still feel it. So I'm super glad you're okay. And it has given you that great perspective of, you know, your why in life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, conquering difficult things will do that for you. And you don't have to, like, nearly die.
Yeah.
You know, that's where running is one of the best tools. Yeah. I used running to recover from that because it was my brain. I tried to learn how to code computers like a dumbass.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I need to be doing something productive. Like,
that's so crazy.
It's like the anxiety.
You can hardly remember anything, and you started to try and code computers.
Well, I was like, I gotta learn HTML and CSS and JavaScript, and like, so I started trying to learn that. I got an online scholarship telling them, like, what happened. I'm like, I really just need this, and then I tried, I failed, and then that made me really sad, and then. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start running, and I decided now is the time for me to sign up for my first marathon. And then I did that, and I slowly but surely increased my mileage and felt stronger and stronger. And it was like the one thing I could, like, do and have control of and improve at, and, like, benchmark day after day, week after week, and be like, okay, I'm getting better at something.
Yeah. And
that gave me a ton of confidence. So,
by the way, this was not just a marathon. This was Silverton Alpine Challenge, which I'd done. I did the 50K in 2014.
Yeah.
Of a marathon at 10,000 feet.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really, yeah, you go over a 13er mountain pass.
Yeah, it's probably around 13,000 feet, maybe like
it's
12.5. It is over.
I think it hits 13.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And then it comes back down to like 9 or something. But that's a really good one. And I felt like I accomplished something huge. And on the other end of that, I was like, wow, I really came from the depths up to here, and felt really good. But you know, it was funny because I didn't know much about running either. I was like you told me I sent you a picture of my shoes. I was like, look at these Salomons that I got. And you're like, those are hiking boots.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah. Apparently they weren't really.
Did I give you the code for Salomon then? Was that,
I don't know.
Or did you just buy them?
I think I bought them. I had friends with Pro Deals or something. I might have just bought them retail. I can't remember.
That is so funny. You also sent me a photo of like your distance. You're like, I ran 27 miles, so I'm an ultra runner. And I said, no, you're not.
Rats.
That's so funny. I'm sorry. I should have just let you have that one.
No, and what? And like, and spoon feed me the ultra runner title? No way. That's like, yeah, that's, you can't be nice to people when they try to like wear a bigger title than they deserve. Like, that's something that I think that this society needs more of, is people to be like smacked around a little bit and be like, listen,
I think it depends on
you
the
get
situation.
it when you accomplish it.
Yeah. I also think that people deserve love,
Yeah, that's true.
and so many people don't have.
Are you pro participation awards or anti participation awards?
So I'm anti just general participation awards. But what I think is really cool is when, say, there's like a kid soccer team, you highlight something that the kid was good at. Like, everybody gets an award, but it is for something that the kid. So, because like 8-year-old kids, in order to keep them in sports, they need to be reinforced. You know, and then also if you highlight something that's like makes them valuable to the team, they're going to take pride in that, and they're going to take that and continue to do that in their life. So like, I think I'm all for that. And I'm also all for just like being honest. Like, you got to be, especially with kids, you got to be honest when they're fucking up, you know, and you got to, you know, be blunt. You can't sugarcoat it, you know, but also when a kid, you can't control talent for sport, and you don't want a kid to stop playing just because he's not athletic, or a kid to stop doing art just because they're not good at it, you know? And so, and I think the thing that you do to keep kids in whatever enriching activity is reward them, and you can just reward them with reinforcing those behaviors. So
yeah, and at a certain point, like, maybe the kid needs to pivot and like try something different if they're not good at it. But
they don't have to make a career out of it, but so many people don't have hobbies anymore, you know, and it's because they lost them as kids. But imagine if, like, you know, your art teacher, even if you sucked at art, was like, man, I really liked how you drew the wing on that owl. It's a really creative depiction. Like, I would love to see more of that from you, instead of just like ignoring the kids who are bad at art.
That's true.
You know, think how many more adults might just like take up artistic hobbies, you know, so.
Yeah, I think in high school, they gave out like 3 or 4 awards to the high school boys, and like I got I think I got like most dedicated award or something, even though I was bad, but I like stuck it out every single day, extra workouts whenever they had them. Like, I was trying to get better, and I didn't realize I had this like physical like
limitation.
The limitation. So but yeah, getting that award meant so much. So you're right. Like, I think people do need to be, you know, appreciated for the things that they really do bring to the table.
Yeah. And like a kid on a soccer team, there's something that each kid brings to the table, because they're all just playing, and that's pretty fun. And if they are, say they're on a soccer team and they win the like most likely to catch a butterfly award, like, hell yeah, that kid had a good time at soccer.
That's so cute. Yeah,
you know?
You're so right. And you know, what if the kid is like the most violent, it's like the most likely to punch another kid in the face?
Well, this is the thing, you don't give that award.
Most aggressive award.
You like work on that with the kid. You use the opportunity of the season to be like, hey, I see that you're super passionate. Let's channel this into something else, because hitting kids isn't right. And then you like work to channel that energy into something else. And then maybe he or she learns to apply that passion on the soccer field. It's so funny that we're using soccer. I never played soccer in my life. But
yeah. And then, they stopped. Sorry.
Let me finish. And then you like say Johnny started the season, having a lot of fire, but didn't know how to control it. And this season, he learned how to control that fire, to be nice to his teammates, to be nice to his competitors, but also fight like hell during game time. Johnny gets most passionate player award.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was good job.
You.
Full circle, and you really brought it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you need a soccer coach, I can help with the awards.
Yeah.
Don't ask me anything about soccer though, please.
Soccer award aficionado.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Where are we at time?
Let's see, we've been chatting for an hour and 6 minutes.
Wow. Okay. So I feel like we choose one of these topics and we save the next one for the next one. You choose which one.
You choose. You made the list.
Okay. We'll just go down in order because I feel like the next one is like kind of juicy. So recently I have been considering going back on ADHD meds just because my brain has felt really chaotic, and I don't like to be on meds anymore for long periods of time, but it does help decrease my anxiety a lot because everything in my brain isn't happening all at once, and when there's a lot of chaos in my life, it gets worse. Just like, and it's always like that. But if I am established in routine and I'm moving through life, and also like I had, losing my athlete had a huge impact on my work life, and that kind of like threw it and basically I like got kind of depressed for a little while, and my brain started, and using medication can help bring me out of that for periods of time. Mm-hmm. But I haven't wanted to go back on meds because I would need to get a TUE to compete at a high level.
What is a TUE?
I forget what it's called, but it basically, here, I should look it up. I should know this. But it basically makes it so I get an exemption for taking a banned substance in sport.
Oh, I see.
And talk about not wanting a asterisk. Like, I don't want an asterisk. And I think you don't have to be public about TUEs. But, I would feel like shit doing that.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, most of the medication that people with ADHD take are
stimulants.
They're stimulants, like Adderall and Ritalin or Vyvanse, right?
Yeah, I've taken this one thing called Stragera. I forget what it's called, but it's not a stimulant. I can't find the definition of TUE.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
But it like didn't really work on me, and it also made me crazy constipated.
Oh, really?
So yeah. And so I went off of that and I went back on Ritalin, which I've historically been on. That's what I was on as a kid, and then I switched to like an Adderall knockoff recently.
I mean, those could those be dangerous for your heart? Because don't they increase your heart rate quite a lot?
Yeah, I think they could be in sport. I'm not sure. But I think so because they do monitor my heart when I'm on there regularly, which I haven't been on them regularly for more than just like a couple months at a time for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were talking about that. My sports psychologist actually, when I was telling her how I felt, asked if I'd consider going back on meds. And I at first was like, yes, I need something. I was like in such a dark pit that I was like, I need something to help me get out of this. And then I kind of reconsidered just because I'm in a heavy training block, and I don't want to, I wanted to feel much better, but I didn't want to like be like, oh no, now I need to take meds to feel better. And honestly, like, what my sports psychologist said to me the other day, it was like, some people just need to take meds, and that is the reality, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if I didn't get drug tested in races, I probably would just take it.
Yeah.
For my own mental health.
Drugs have been labeled different things over the past, forever basically, but certain drugs are looked upon favorably by the population and the media and the government and all this kind of stuff, and other ones are looked upon as, basically you're a terrible excuse for a human if you even try it. And there's, in my mind, like, most drugs are tools, and like pretty much every drug is a tool. It's a way for you to experience life in a different sort of like consciousness. It just alters your consciousness in a certain way. Or sometimes it doesn't even alter your consciousness. It just changes your physiology just a little bit, and that's like that can help you also for health reasons. But yeah, I mean, I see that dilemma, because you don't want to feel like there's any sort of performance enhancing thing that you've been taking to have that asterisk next to your name when you win a big race, like you talked about. But also you want to feel good, and you want to feel like you can dig yourself out of a dark hole.
And I want to feel like myself too.
Yeah.
And like on medication, there are some times where I do feel like more of myself, because it's my whole experience isn't clouded by just absolute mayhem that exists between my ears. It like allows me to express myself a little bit better, but at the same time, there are times where I'm like, I think my ADHD is kind of a superpower, and it makes me creative, and it makes me, it gives me the ability to think different. And, I think it's why I have all this energy, and, why running is so good for me. But yeah. And so I've been when I told my sports psychologist, Sarah, that I kind of was hesitant to go on meds, she was like, okay, then you like have to do something. Let's try meditation and be super consistent about it.
Cool. Yeah. So you've been meditating. I've been meditating with you a little bit. I've meditated a lot in the past and go on and off of it, but have you meditated much before, or is this like your first time really?
I've done it sporadically. Like, I've actually had the Headspace subscription for maybe since 2019.
Whoa.
But I've gone like full years without using it and being like, I'm going to use it, and then don't. It's something that I've really wanted to do, but I think it's just like, I think sometimes it's hard for me to be and like scary for me to be in my own head. And so I try and distract myself a lot. And, and so the idea of just sitting down and meditating was kind of scary.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, so has it been helping?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's the first couple times were super uncomfortable. Well, the very first time, actually, my awesome therapist and sports psychologist, Enzo Sports Performance, shout out. She led me through it. She called me. We did like a 20-minute session.
Really cool.
Yeah, outside of our normal sessions.
Did she just like help guide you how to meditate?
She literally did what the Headspace guy does.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
nice.
Except it was her voice. She should actually do that for a living. She could make some money by making an app on that. She was really good at it.
There's a lot of value in meditating, and actually, like the first place I meditated, somebody guided me through it too, and that was when I was studying abroad in New Zealand, and I went to this, they called it a shamanic circle. And they basically, this guy in the middle of the room would bang the drum, and he would guide everyone through the meditation. And it really helped make it easy to figure out how to enter that sort of headspace. And the goal with meditation is to sort of be in the moment and be as present as you possibly can, and not have your mind cluttered by all of the extraneous stuff. And so that is really a skill. It's kind of a muscle that you can train to bring yourself into the present moment. and release yourself of some of those, heavy thoughts or
just like thoughts of it's just like thoughts, like everything that you got to do, or
the
like
clutter.
Everything that's going on, the clutter. Yeah.
And that really can lead to you feeling really happy.
Yeah.
And also like unrestrained. It can lead to you thinking more clearly. So I'm a huge proponent for meditation. And I think that that's really interesting that your sports psychologist suggested meditation over, ADHD medication. Would you say that the effects have been relatively similar, or is it comparable at all?
Well, I think it's much slower, obviously, because like I take meds and then it's like my thoughts. I always describe it as like normal people's, their thoughts tend to come in like 1, 2, 3, 4. Mine is like 26, D, 18, 1, FYZ, 2, 6, and then they're also coming at like 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And, and so it hasn't, I think it's been much slower. Like the first couple times I was like, I was still like, what the hell am I even doing this for?
Yeah.
And then it's slowly, like now I feel better than when I started, when I was having these conversations with my sports psych.
Yeah.
And with you too, I told you that I was going to go back on meds and then I ended up not, but.
And, if I support like whatever tool you need to use. I do think that if you can train your own body to do the task of what a drug can do, it'll benefit you long-term forever, wherever you are in the world and whether you have meds or not. But
100%.
And meds can be super useful, and sometimes you're in such a dark pit, you need a little tool to help you get out of it. And I've taken like ADHD medication before, especially when I'm like really need to, I was told by a doctor I have ADHD, and so I tried it and I've used it a couple times, not a lot, but sometimes it's that tool that I need to accomplish what I need to accomplish. And so there's no shame in that. I think that sometimes people have a lot of shame, but also remembering that, you should use the right tool for the job. And ideally you can train your mind and your body to be as strong as it can be in every single aspect. So like, how can you become present and focus your mind? But at the same time, like, we have to go through this life and use the tools at hand to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And sometimes it's really elegant, and sometimes it's quick and dirty, and sometimes it's difficult. But those tools like medications, I don't think are a bad thing.
Yeah, and I'm still like, I'm still not opposed to it right now. And who knows? Like I've been home and things have been a little bit less. Like things are about to get crazy until September, starting on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So who knows what I will end up needing when I'm less grounded in my routine and I don't have that to come back to. Like I'm still letting myself have an open mind and not be judgmental about it, because it does help me. And like it does, if I'm starting to like go down a depressive spiral where I'm just like staring at a blank wall because I'm so paralyzed by all my crazy thoughts, it can really help. Mm-hmm. And I really sometimes only need it for like a couple weeks, and then I can, I'm out of that spot and I can go off of it again. But
one of the most amazing books I've ever read, and I've bought and like given it to like 10 of my friends after I read it because I thought it was so eye-opening, was How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. And it talks a lot about this, about how drugs and specifically psychedelics, have been used throughout history, and the whole governmental crackdown on psychedelics and why that happened in the 70s and 80s. And now the resurgence of like how people are perceiving them differently, and how they are being used in super beneficial ways. And I have friends and acquaintances that are, utilizing certain therapies that have like changed their lives dramatically.
Yeah.
In really positive ways. So, you know, I think it's foolish to take any sort of status quo generalization norm and be like, oh, that thing, like, I don't understand it. I don't like it. It's evil. Until you start understanding, like, okay, what are the side effects? What are the positive and negative side effects of that thing? And what is it used for? And is it addictive? Like, that's a pretty important thing.
Totally.
You know, and could it be beneficial? So
yeah,
and I think that I would definitely recommend that book. Everyone who hasn't read it yet, How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, maybe I'll re-listen to it. Actually, I read it like right when it came out, but I was also not doing so hot then, so like I don't remember anything from that time. Yeah. But I think it is helping. You know, I think it's like definitely a slower burn and a slower fix, but I'm really liking the habit, and I'm really motivated by habits too, and making, the Headspace app has like, you've meditated 9 days in a row, and last night it was 9 p.m. or 9:30, and I was really tired. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really want to meditate, but because I wanted to keep my streak going, I did it.
Meditating is so helpful. I'm curious how many of our listeners meditate. If you meditate, like, comment or let us know, and or in whatever way. I'm just super curious. And if you don't meditate, it's super cool to try. I recommend it. And the simplest tool that I've learned how to try to meditate is just by counting your breaths. Breathe deeply and calmly and try to focus just on your breath, count to 5 breaths or whatever, and then you restart. And, but just by counting your breaths and being present with your own breath, that's how you can sort of enter that mind space. And there's a whole bunch of other tools.
And for me, because counting, like, I count the inhale 1, exhale 2. Because if I'm just counting the breaths, that's too slow and my brain will wander. I mean, honestly, I have not been able to go, do you do this? When you meditate, do you have other thoughts, or you just focus on the breath?
Oh, I always have other thoughts. And like,
okay, that's
sometimes they'll breeze into my mind and I'm like, oh, why am I thinking about, my ex's cat right now? Or like, what? Why am I worried about like insulating the attic or fixing this thing? Like, everything kind of flows in and out. But like, typically, when you remember, like, oh, okay, breathe, focus on breath number 4, and then you're like, okay, that's not important. Just focus on your breath, and then you back in your breath, and then another thought might roll in breath number 5, and you're like, okay, think about it. Sure, whatever. Not important. I don't need to think about that right now. Breath number 5, and then back to breath number 1, and eventually you can just be so like focused on your body and the present moment and your own breath going in and out that you're you feel like there's nothing else that's really important to think about right then. And that's how you can like snap into this present moment. And that's really special. It's like being Momo,
I'm not good at it yet, but I'm trying really hard.
I can't say that I'm good at it, but it's really a good practice. I think everyone should practice it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know in the comments if you meditate. And
and if you read that book, How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan, I'm like, it's really crazy.
Yeah, what'd you think of the book? Let us know.
What else?
I think that's it. I think that's a good spot to wrap.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for everyone for listening. It's super fun to do these podcasts. And
thanks, guys.
We'll see you next time.
Glad you like it. Please keep interacting with the pod. We want it to grow. We say this every week, but do you have a call to action? What's one call to action we could do to get people? I would say if you could please share with one friend, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Any friend that you're like, oh, this person also had a traumatic brain injury in Jackson Hole. Like, send it to them and be like, dude, this guy This guy is also a nutcase. Listen to it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Maybe they're a runner with ADHD.
Yeah.
You know?
Or maybe they also like really love dolphins and want to hear about swimming with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a really good dolphin noise. Can you replicate it?
Wait, I can only do it when my sister's here,
Okay.
and I should do it far away from the mic.
Okay.
See, I have my
Nice.
sister actually has a dolphin noise, and I am good at imitating it. Let me try again. That's still goat.
It's like an old dolphin, dolphin in the nursing home about to croak.
Yeah. Or like a sheep getting chased by Shirley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, guys. Well, thank you again. Please share with one friend. If you share it on Instagram, tag us because that's really cool to see and we love to see it. Other than that, comment, like, share. 5 stars, please. Bye. We love you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Yo.